Chapter 1, The Wish Under the Crimson Sky. The village slept in silence, wrapped in the eerie glow of the blood moon. The air was thick with whispers of old legends, tales of wishes granted and prices paid. Beneath the ancient oak tree on the edge of the forest, Seraphina stood alone. Her silvery hair shimmered like spun moonlight, cascading down her back. Her gown of deep midnight blue clung to her slender figure, the fabric catching the red glow and making her look as though she were woven from starlight itself. Her heart ached with loneliness. No suitor had ever seen her for more than her beauty, none had ever loved her soul. She clasped her hands tightly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "If the legends are true, let me find a love that will never leave me," she whispered into the night. The wind stilled. The forest hushed. Even the crickets fell silent. From the darkness, a figure emerged. Tall, broad-shouldered, his black cloak billowing as though the shadows themselves obeyed him. His raven-dark hair caught the crimson light, and his golden eyes burned with an intensity that made her breath falter. He stepped closer, and the world seemed to bend around him. "Careful, Seraphina," his voice was a low velvet caress, "for the moon listens, and love is the most dangerous wish of all." Her lips parted, her voice barely a whisper. "How do you know my name?" A faint smile curved his lips. He lifted a hand, brushing a stray lock of her silvery hair behind her ear. His touch was cool, yet it sent heat racing through her veins. "I've always known you," he murmured. Seraphina's heart thundered in her chest. His presence was overwhelming, magnetic, impossible to resist. And yet, instead of fear, she felt a strange, aching desire. Who are you?" she asked, though deep inside, she already feared the answer. He leaned closer, his golden eyes glinting with something both tender and dangerous. "My name," he whispered, his lips brushing the shell of her ear, "is Lucien. And you, Seraphina, you've just summoned me." The blood moon flared brighter, casting them both in crimson light. And in that moment, her wish had come true, though the cost was still hidden in the shadows. Then it happened, the crystal pulsed violet, reacting to her energy. Eros looked up, stunned. "No one has ever." Their eyes locked. Her lips parted. A heat coiled in his stomach, something more dangerous than magic. More ancient than spells. Desire. Real. Human. Raw. Without thinking, he reached out and touched her hand. The crystal exploded in light. For a second, time slowed. And then, in the shards of violet magic glowing around them, he kissed her. It wasn't soft. It was hungry, claiming, confused, like a man starved of something he never believed in. She melted against him, her fingers in his hair, their bodies pressed together between floating crystals. His hands found her waist. Her breath hitched. Their kiss deepened, tongue brushing tongue, fire igniting in the air around them. Then he stopped. Pulled back. Breathing hard. His eyes, wide and silver, held fear. Wonder. "That was not science," he whispered. She was still catching her breath, flushed, her eyes glassy with heat. "No," she whispered back. "That was real." And for the first time in years, Eros felt something he couldn't measure. As Lyra walked away, his gloved hand brushed the crystal. It pulsed violet again, not from his magic. From hers. "She's more than curious," Eros whispered to himself. "She's dangerous." Episode 1 ends. Chapter 2, Forbidden Touches, Forbidden Truths. The air in the tower was heavier the next morning. Eros couldn't sleep. All night, his mind kept replaying the kiss. The way her fingers curled into his hair. The way her lips trembled before surrendering to his. The way her presence changed the crystal's energy. But it wasn't just lust. Not just chemistry. It was alchemy. The kind that couldn't be replicated. And it terrified him. The mirror lab. Lyra stood in front of the obsidian mirror, her violet eyes reflecting back with confusion and something she hadn't felt in years, excitement. Her fingers brushed her lips as a soft smile curled there. That kiss. She felt it in her bones. In her breath. In her dreams. The moment he touched her, something inside her stirred, a memory she never lived, a voice from deep within whispering. You've met him before. In another life. In another fate. A knock at the door snapped her out of it. Eros stood there, no longer in his heavy alchemist robes, but in a fitted black shirt, his sleeves rolled up, revealing runes etched along his arms. His presence was magnetic. You're early, he said. I didn't sleep, she answered honestly. I needed to understand why the crystal reacted to me. He looked at her for a long moment. His silver gaze softened. You're not from here, are you? Lyra blinked. What do you mean? I mean Etherhold. You don't speak like us. Your aura doesn't bend to the magic around it. It bends magic to you. Her lips parted, but she had no answer. He walked slowly to her. There's something inside you. Something old. The silence between them thickened. She turned to hide her flushed cheeks, but he stepped closer, slowly, then reached out, his fingers brushing the back of her neck, just where the crescent moon birthmark was. As soon as he touched it, a burst of violet light surged between them. Every lantern in the tower flickered out. And in that darkness, they both heard it. She is the key. She will awaken the bond. They froze. Eros pulled his hand back. Did you hear that? She whispered. I didn't just hear it, he said slowly. I felt it. Like it was, in my blood. The seduction begins. Later that night, in the lower lab chamber, Eros stood shirtless over a table, sketching ancient runes on parchment. His body glistened faintly from the magic residue, muscles taut with focus. Lyra entered quietly, but her eyes lingered on him. Why do you mark yourself with those runes? She asked. He didn't look up. Pain is an anchor. Magic behaves better when it remembers suffering. Do you always punish yourself to feel in control? He finally met her gaze. Something primal flickered in his eyes. No. But you make me want to lose it. Her breath caught. The space between them hummed. The candles flared. She stepped closer. Then lose it, she whispered. He reached for her, slowly, deliberately. And pressed her back against the ancient stone wall. Their lips met again, this time deeper, rougher, like a dam breaking. Their bodies moved together with instinct. His hand slipped beneath her cloak, tracing the edge of her waist. She gasped as his mouth traveled down her jaw, to her neck, where he whispered. Your magic tastes like starlight. Her hands roamed his bare chest, feeling the etched runes pulse beneath her touch. When her fingers brushed a scar over his heart, he froze. She looked up. What happened here? His eyes turned cold, haunted. That's the price of loving the wrong person. Silence. Intimate. Honest. Then Lyra cupped his face gently and said, I'm not her. He kissed her again, this time like it was the first time he'd trusted someone in years. Outside the tower, danger brews. High above the city, in a watchtower of shadows, a dark sorceress with ice-white eyes watched them through a scrying glass. Her lip curled. So the prophecy was true. The girl has returned. She turned to her servant. Kill her before she unlocks his heart. Because if she does, he will become unstoppable. End of Chapter 2. Chapter 3, The Dream Between Worlds. The sky above Etherhold cracked with thunder. The stars pulsed unnaturally that night, as if the universe itself had sensed a forbidden force awakening. Inside the tower, Lyra tossed and turned in her velvet-draped bed, her skin slick with heat. Sweat clung to her collarbone. Her breath hitched in her throat. The dream had started again. But this time it was different. The dream realm. She stood barefoot in a silver forest, wearing a sheer gown that clung to her like mist. Moonlight painted her skin in shades of desire. And he was there. Eros, shirtless, eyes glowing silver, standing by a pool of liquid crystal that reflected both their faces. His voice echoed, deeper than before, laced with something ancient. "You remember this place, don't you, Lyra?" Her lips parted. "No, but I feel like I should." He stepped closer, slow and predatory, his fingertips brushing a strand of her hair behind her ear. The air between them crackled. "Because we've been here before," he whispered. "Lifetime after lifetime. Dream after dream." Suddenly, her body remembered what her mind couldn't, the way his touch felt against her bare back, the way his lips tasted of stardust and longing. She shivered. "I shouldn't want this," she whispered. "But you do," he replied, voice velvet dark. He cupped her jaw and tilted her face up. Their lips hovered a breath apart. When he kissed her, the dream exploded into color. Flowers bloomed in midair. Crystals rose from the ground, humming with energy. Their passion fed the dream world. His hands slid down her arms, to her waist, then lower, tracing every curve with reverence and hunger. She gasped as his lips traveled down her neck, to her chest, and lower. The forest pulsed with light. And then, a sudden crack. Scene shift, real world, a mark appears. Lyra woke up gasping, her thighs trembling under the silk sheets. Her breath caught as she looked at her arm. A new mark had appeared on her skin, glowing violet in the shape of intertwined stars. She scrambled out of bed, pulled a robe over her body, and ran up the spiraling stairs of the tower. The Alchemy Library. Eros stood by an ancient tome, eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep. He turned as she burst in. "You felt it too," he said, before she even spoke. Lyra showed him the glowing mark. "What is this? Why do I feel like I've been with you before? Why do I remember you, Eros, in dreams?" He looked at her long and hard. Then pulled open a locked drawer. Inside, a scroll wrapped in dragon hide shimmered with protective enchantments. "This," he said, "is the reason I never believed in love." He unrolled the scroll. On it, two figures, drawn in shimmering ink, stood back to back, a man with silver eyes and a woman with violet eyes. Beneath it, an ancient line of prophecy. "When the mark of twin stars returns to the flesh, the alchemy of souls shall awaken, and with it, the world will burn or bloom." Lyra's heart pounded. "Are we those souls?" Eros nodded slowly. "We found each other in every life. But every time, one of us dies before the bond is complete." She took a step back, overwhelmed. Then Eros gently grabbed her hand. "This time, I won't lose you." Her breath caught. "I had a dream," she whispered. "You were there. Touching me, it felt real." He stepped closer. "Because it was." Their lips met again, desperate, deeper now. Like the dream had cracked a dam inside them both. Their bodies pressed against the tall bookshelf, and Lyra's robe slipped off her shoulder. Eros groaned into her mouth, his hands finding the small of her back, pulling her closer. "You are mine," he whispered. "Across every life." Their kiss ignited the room again. Books flew off shelves. Magic flickered like fireflies around their bodies. Elsewhere, dark sorceress lurks. From the shadows of the lower temple, the dark sorceress watched the swirling energies between them. "She's awakened it too soon," she hissed. "The bond is incomplete, and when it's broken, it will shatter them both." She drew a dagger, the blade pulsing black. "If I cannot have his heart, then neither will she." End of Chapter 3. Chapter 4, The Memory Burn. The tower trembled before dawn. Not physically, but magically. The very walls of Eros's sanctuary seemed to hum with energy, like the air before a lightning strike. And at the center of it, was Lyra. She stood barefoot in the crystal lab, wearing only a thin ivory shift that clung to her skin like second breath. Her eyes were wide, glowing softly, her hands hovering inches above the levitating crystal orb. It wasn't responding to Eros anymore. It was reacting only to her. The violet light inside it spun faster and faster, humming louder, sinking with her breath, until suddenly. Boom. The crystal shattered midair, shards flying around her in a perfect orbit. She didn't even flinch. Lyra. Eros appeared instantly, his energy flooding the room as he pulled her away from the floating debris. His arms wrapped around her, grounding her, anchoring her. But she didn't blink. Her eyes were distant. Lost in a memory not her own. Vision sequence. The past life. She stood in a burning temple. Roaring flames. Screams. And him, Eros, but not Eros. Wearing ancient armor, bloodied, screaming her name. She, Lyra, was holding something glowing in her hand. A heart-shaped crystal. She whispered a spell through tears as the enemy closed in. I bind us. Now and forever. Then she was pierced through the back with a cursed blade, her blood glowing violet. No. Eros shouted, falling to his knees as she collapsed. You weren't supposed to die, not again. Scene shift, present, Lyra collapses. In the real world, Lyra screamed and collapsed in Eros's arms, her body convulsing with magical surges. She's burning up, he whispered. Her soul is remembering too fast. The mark on her shoulder, the crescent moon, began to glow and split open, revealing a second hidden symbol, the seal of soul binding. No, not now, Eros whispered. Not without the anchor ritual. He carried her to the starlight pool below the tower. A sacred alchemical spring. He laid her down gently, whispering incantations as violet energy danced across her skin. Stay with me, Lyra. Please. I just found you. Emotional intimate scene, his confession. As he held her trembling body in the glowing water, he pulled her closer. His forehead pressed against hers. He whispered, you once told me you'd find me again. In every lifetime. Even if the stars forgot your name. His voice cracked. I never believed it, until you kissed me. Then, as if drawn by his truth, Lyra's eyes fluttered open. Weak. Barely conscious. But she smiled. And whispered, you still talk too much. Eros laughed, but tears fell anyway. He leaned in and kissed her, soft, gentle, filled with pure emotion this time. No hunger. No seduction. Just love. The water around them glowed in waves, reacting to the bond forming between their souls. Meanwhile, the curse stirs. Chapter 8, The Hunters in the Shadows. The morning after their secret embrace, Seraphina woke to the sound of heavy footsteps outside her cottage. She hurried to the window, her silvery hair tumbling around her shoulders. 3 men stood at her garden gate, their faces grim, their hands gripping iron-tipped spears. Her heart lurched. One of them, the village elder, raised his voice. Seraphina, open your door. We would speak with you. Fear coiled in her stomach. She pressed a hand to her chest, where the heat of Lucien's touch still lingered. She could still feel his kiss on her lips, the shadow of his wings wrapped around her in the night. The elder's voice came again, harder this time. There are rumors, girl. That you walk under the blood moon with a stranger. That shadows follow you. Tell us who he is. Seraphina forced her voice to remain steady. There is no stranger. But as the words left her lips, a cold breeze whispered through the room. She turned. And Lucien stood there in the corner, his golden eyes glowing faintly, his form half hidden in shadow. They can sense me, his voice echoed in her mind. If they see me, they will kill you first, to weaken me. Her breath caught. She turned back to the men outside. Leave me in peace. I am no witch. I've done nothing. One of them slammed the spear against the gate. Then swear it before the blood moon tonight. Seraphina's pulse raced as the men finally left, their suspicious gazes lingering too long. She closed the window, her body trembling. Lucien moved closer, his hand brushing the tears from her lashes. His touch was cool but achingly gentle. You mustn't be afraid. I will never let them harm you. But what if they're right, she whispered, her voice breaking. What if loving you damns me, Lucien? His jaw tightened, anguish flashing across his face. He pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she thought he'd never let go. His lips pressed against her hair, fierce and desperate. I would rather damn you with love than let you live without it, he whispered. Her breath shuddered. She lifted her gaze, her silver eyes meeting his golden fire. And then she kissed him, not with innocence, but with hunger, with defiance, as though her lips alone could silence the world. Lucien's wings unfurled, curling around her protectively as he deepened the kiss. The shadows surged, pulling them closer, until the room itself seemed to bow to their passion. For a moment, there was no curse. No villagers. No fate. Only Seraphina and Lucien, burning against the crimson glow of a merciless moon. Chapter 9, The Edge of Surrender. That night, the blood moon hung lower than ever, a crimson wound in the sky. Seraphina waited in her chamber, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might tear from her chest. And then, like a shadow come alive, Lucien appeared. His golden eyes glowed faintly in the dark, his black wings folding as he stepped toward her. You shouldn't be here, she whispered, though her trembling hands reached for him. His lips curved in a faint, dangerous smile. You say that every night, and yet you never stop wishing for me. She couldn't deny it. Her breath caught as his hand slid around her waist, pulling her close. His kiss came fierce, desperate, his mouth claiming hers with a hunger that left her dizzy. She clung to him, her fingers tangling in his hair as his lips moved lower, along her jaw, her throat, her collarbone. Lucien, her voice trembled as his teeth grazed her skin, sending shivers racing through her body. He groaned low in his chest, his wings arching around them like a canopy of night. The shadows surged with his desire, thickening the air until she could barely breathe. His hands roamed her body with reverence and fire, pulling her closer, deeper, until she thought she might be consumed. But then, his lips froze against her neck. His body trembled, his breath ragged. Seraphina, his voice was hoarse, broken. I can feel the curse stirring. If I take you now, it will demand more than I can control. Her silver eyes shone with tears, but she did not pull away. Instead, she pressed her lips to his jaw, whispering against his skin, then let it take me. I would rather be yours tonight than live a lifetime without you. His golden eyes blazed, torn between agony and desire. He kissed her again, harder, desperate, his hands clutching her as though she were the last light in his world. The shadows curled around her like velvet chains, her body pressed to his so tightly she felt the beat of his cursed heart. For a breathless moment, Seraphina thought he might give in, that he would claim her soul that very night. But at the last second, Lucien tore himself away, stumbling back as though struck. His wings slammed shut, his chest heaving. No, he rasped, his eyes filled with torment. Not like this. If I lose you to the curse, then I am no better than the demon they believe me to be. Tears burned her lashes. She reached for him, her voice breaking. Lucien. But he vanished into the shadows before she could touch him, leaving her trembling, breathless, and aching with a love that threatened to destroy them both. Outside, the blood moon pulsed brighter, a cruel reminder that their time was running out. Chapter 10, The Crimson Vows. The village bells tolled midnight. Outside, the blood moon hung swollen and merciless, drenching the world in crimson light. Seraphina stood in her chamber, her silvery gown flowing like liquid moonlight, her heart trembling in her chest. Tonight, the curse would demand its price. Tonight, she would wed Lucien, or lose him forever. The shadows stirred, and suddenly he was there. Lucien. His black wings arched wide, his golden eyes burning with a light both beautiful and terrifying. For a moment, neither spoke. Then he stepped closer, his hand trembling as it brushed her cheek. "You are radiant," he whispered, voice breaking. "Too radiant for a fallen thing like me." Her eyes filled with tears, but she smiled softly. "And yet you are all I've ever wished for." Lucien kissed her then, fierce, aching, desperate, as though every heartbeat might be their last. His lips trailed fire along her neck, his hands pulling her flesh against him. The shadows wrapped around them, heavy and hot, demanding more. "Seraphina," he breathed raggedly, his lips hovering above hers. "If we speak the vows, the curse will take you. Your soul will be mine, and you will be lost." Her silver eyes glistened. "Then let me be lost in you." The blood moon flared brighter. The air thickened. Lucien's body trembled violently, the curse pressing in on him like a storm. He cupped her face, anguish burning in his eyes. "If I take your soul, I'll save myself, but destroy you." She kissed him softly, a tear sliding down her cheek. "Then promise me, Lucien. Promise me you will love me beyond life. Beyond damnation. Beyond the stars." His golden eyes blazed, and for a moment he looked like the angel he once was. "I swear it." The shadows surged, binding their hands together as though heaven itself had twisted into darkness. Lucien's voice broke as he spoke the final vow. "With this kiss, I claim you, Seraphina, in love, in fire, in eternity." Their lips met, and the world shattered. Crimson light engulfed them, the curse roaring through the chamber like a storm. Seraphina gasped as her soul was pulled, her body trembling violently in his arms. But instead of despair, she felt peace, warmth, and love so fierce it burned brighter than the blood moon itself. Lucien cried out, his wings arching wide as the curse seared him, then broke. When the crimson light faded, he collapsed to his knees, Seraphina still in his arms. She touched his face weakly, her lips trembling. "You're free," she whispered. Tears fell down Lucien's face. His wings, once black, now shimmered with streaks of silver light. "No, Seraphina. We are free. For I will carry you, in this life or the next." And as the blood moon bled its last light across the sky, their lips met again, a kiss that bound them not to a curse, but to eternity. Chapter 6, Through the Gate of Ilarion. The stars above Etherhold spun like a vortex. From the tower's rooftop garden, a beam of light now pierced the heavens, connecting the soul-binding altar to a floating celestial ring in the sky, the Gate of Ilarion. And it was wide open. Eros fading. Eros lay on the silken ground, his chest still bleeding from Leora's cursed shard. His body trembled with magic surging out of control, the soul-binding rune flickering in and out of existence. Every moment he lived, the bond weakened. Lyra knelt beside him, eyes wild with panic, holding his hand so tight it turned white. "You're not dying on me," she whispered. He looked at her, sweat on his brow, blood at the corner of his lips, and still, he smiled. "If this is how I go," he rasped, "I'd rather die with your name on my lips." "No," she said, standing, fury and purpose igniting in her soul. "I didn't just find you to lose you again. The gate calls." The beam of light flared, responding to her vow. A voice echoed across the night sky, deep, ancient, impossible. "One soul may enter. One soul may return. The bond shall be tested, by memory, by fear, by fire." Lyra's eyes turned violet white. "I'm going." Eros tried to rise. "No, it's too dangerous. It'll strip your mind. Your memories." "I'd rather lose my mind than lose you again," she said. "This time, I save you." She pressed her lips to his, soft, full of everything unsaid, and walked into the column of light. Inside the Gate of Ilarion, the world turned upside down. Lyra fell into a sky of liquid stars, her body glowing as she plunged through layers of memory and magic. When she landed, she stood in an endless field of mirrors. Each one reflected a different life. A different her. A different Eros. She saw a warrior version of him dying in her arms on a battlefield. A healer her, being burned for saving him with forbidden magic. A version of them as stars, reaching for each other but always out of sync. Tears streamed down her face. "Why do we always end in tragedy?" she whispered. Then a voice answered, her own voice, but older, wiser, filled with starlight. "Because true love is never given. It is earned, and tested." Suddenly the mirrors shattered, and the final trial began. The final trial, the fire room. Lyra stood in a circular chamber surrounded by flames. In the center, a glowing figure stood, Eros, but hollow-eyed, shadowed, and cold. "If you love me," the false Eros said, "then let me go. Love shouldn't hurt." Lyra stepped forward. "You're not him," she whispered. He smiled cruelly. "You think love is always stars and silk sheets? No. Love is pain. Love is sacrifice." He hurled a blade at her chest, made of crystal memories. She caught it, and instead of throwing it back, she drove it into her own palm, her blood spilling onto the firelit floor. "I won't fight you," she said. "Because love doesn't need to prove itself."